So thanks very much for being here tonight. I am Famiko Haft, a co-director of CInTEL. It's a great pleasure to share a story in our proposal here tonight. So all of us here know that academic abilities such as literacy and math is the gateways for knowledge and academic success, as well as the way to get out of poverty. 1 in 5 of all adults, however, in the world cannot read or write. And in some of the regions, for example, the Gulf region in Papua New Guinea, where we do some work in, has a literacy rate that is astonishing at 4.4%. And it's not 40%, it's 4.4%. To put it in context, Somalia, for example, as a nation, has a literacy rate of 40%. But even in the United States, where literacy rate is 99%, over 1/3 of the adults cannot even read and comprehend a simple prescription label. If you're from a low-income family, the achievement gap is even larger. And these achievement gaps start early. Over 40% of low-income schools do not have the means to support these children. So how do we begin to think about solving these problems where there are not enough funds, not enough professional expertise, and so many children with an achievement gap? Our solution to this problem is to use the latest findings from neuroscience and combine that with technological advancement to develop and deploy scalable, cost-effective, and time-efficient solutions that are engaging and that do not require trained professionals. Using these tools, we can assess and also enhance children's cognitive and social-emotional abilities that are critical for later success in life. To accomplish our goals, we recently joined forces with like-minded labs and created a center, which is CInTEL.
One of the biggest challenges we face is the educational achievement gap. So many of our children are struggling with early education. Many of them go undetected.
They often have lower self-esteem, feel socially isolated, and have higher rates of suicide and imprisonment.
We brought together a really diverse group of scientists from UC San Francisco, Berkeley, Stanford, and other universities, focused on this goal of seeing if we could take neuroscience principles, couple them with technological development to really transform education.
We perform everything from R&D to validation in our labs. And by using neuroscience research, we can now develop apps that are engaging, efficient, and tailored to each child's needs.
Through evaluation, we can understand not what a child has learned, but how their brains actually go through the learning process itself. And through enhancement, we can then take that information and make it actionable to improve those skills.
One of our most exciting projects is to develop a neuroscience-based app to identify learning disability risk in preschoolers. This app will help teachers, parents, and caregivers understand each child's strengths and weaknesses and empower them with these strategies and recommendations tailored for each child.
This technology is inexpensive, it's accessible, it can have great reach around the world.
With this technology, we can finally close the achievement gap and give every child the chance to succeed.
So all of those folks that you saw on the screen, my name is Melina Unkefer. I'm also the co-director of CInTEL. And all the folks on the screen that you saw are neuroscientists. We've all been studying the science of learning from a brain-based perspective for the last 15, 20, 25 years. And we are passionately committed to disrupting education with the brain in mind because we have learned so much about the human brain and how it learns and how the developing brain learns. And we want to bring that into the classroom, bring that out into the world. We want to take what we know from the lab and take our lab out into the wild. And so we do that in a two-pronged two-pronged way. We do that through research, taking research out of the lab and into the wild, and we also do that through outreach, both global and local outreach. And some of our research has been really, really exciting. What we do is we take hundreds of years of cognitive neuroscience evaluation tools, and we turn them into very precise, precision, mobile cognitive instruments that give us a really rich, widely distributed, so it can go into every classroom, every household, and it gives us in a rapid way with high precision a really detailed picture of the cognitive landscape of each child. And because we get this really rich multidimensional landscape of each child, we can then tailor personalized automated learning techniques and enhancement techniques that can precisely target and in a personalized way tune the cognitive function of each student. And this cognitive function is the foundation, the basis for academic success. So we have, actually I think we're probably, I may not go into the examples, but we can get into some examples in the question and answer period. But using this cognitive landscape and then using this, what is called a closed loop learning system where we identify, we evaluate the cognitive landscape, and then we precisely tune a very rich enhancement technique, which is actually delivered through games. All of this is delivered through games. So the cognitive neuroscientists all work with game designers and app developers to make these assessment and enhancement tools really fun, so every kid loves doing it. And this is really the future. And this future is here already. We're already working in the Bay Area in local schools to develop and test out and validate these tools. And then we also take these tools and go to DC. We work with the US Department of Education, we work with the National Academy of Science, we work in different countries to bring the science of learning into evidence-based education innovation. We also work very closely with local partners in the Bay Area. We work with museums and local schools to really help support our educators in understanding the science of learning and bringing the science of learning, evidence-based education into the classroom.
All right. So the project that we share with you tonight is the development of research-based school readiness assessment for preschoolers in English and in Spanish. This scalable and widely deployable mobile technology will allow us to close the achievement gap by assessing the building blocks of literacy and math, risk for poor academic outcome, and also risk for learning disabilities, using measures that were originally developed for cognitive neuroscience research. Based on the assessment, the app will offer information about actionable and evidence-based strategies to assist teachers, parents, and caregivers that are tailored to each child's strengths and weaknesses and needs. While this app is suitable for children from all backgrounds, they are underserved immigrants or risk for developing learning disabilities, our app is particularly well suited for those in low resource areas. So we just completed a prototype of a dyslexia risk assessment app in English, and we want to take that to the next step and complete it for reading and math in English and Spanish. And the next step after that will be to extend it to executive function, social emotional skills, creativity, and then to design games to enhance those skills. So what makes our approach unique? We have 4 points that we're going to list here fairly quickly. I was going to elaborate a little bit more. But so one of the strengths of our approach is that we perform everything in-house from R&D to validation. And the second point is that we uniquely focus on research-based measures that tap into the building blocks of literacy and math skills. So for example, we use a paired associate learning paradigm instead of asking, do you know letters, words, or numbers? So that allows us to target children very early and also measure their true learning potential. We integrate modern technologies such as speech analysis and face tracking. And also we implement the science-based adaptive and closed-loop algorithms that allows us to enhance engagement and shorten assessment time. Okay, so in closing, What if we can identify the 50% of the people with learning disabilities that are currently never identified and hence never have the chance to receive the services they need so that they can, in order to succeed? And what if we can change the path of children at risk for academic failure at the very beginning of schooling before they experience failure by 400%? Our ultimate goal is to eliminate educational disparity through neuroscience-based mobile technology. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do you have any questions? Yes.
So this sounds amazing, and congratulations. We're excited to see the progression of this. One of the concerns for a lot of parents is screen time and how much time you spend. Have you guys tested the amount of time, the repetitiveness, how often and what the length of time that children need to be studying this so that it's, is there a point of diminishing returns? Is there a point that is necessary?
It's a great question. So I just 2 days ago got back from a global conference sponsored by the National Academy of Science looking at exactly that, looking at the effect of screen time on the developing brain. And the main message that everybody around the country, around the globe, is coming to the evidence-based conclusion of is it's not actually screen time unless it's right before bed, where it's the blue light that actually delays the ability to fall asleep. But other than that, screen time during the day is all about content. Content is king. And so it's not actually, so they're now starting to segregate educational screen time versus entertainment screen time, but then really diving into the nature of the educational screen time. So it's an incredibly, incredibly valid concern, and I'm really appreciating that people are much more aware of the effects of screen time, but really be mindful of the nature of the screen time, and don't do it before bed or before age 2.
So I understand that your tool will help screen kids to find children who are at risk for dyslexia and other learning disorders. How exactly does it prevent that from setting in? Is it a treatment, or is it a model to help them overcome their disabilities? Can you explain a little more about that?
Okay.
Or is it just purely screening?
So currently at this stage, the prototype we have is for at-risk assessment for dyslexia. The version that we want to develop here and that we're in the process of doing is for children at risk for, or for any child with all backgrounds. So it doesn't have to be a child at risk for developing or for academic failure. It could be a child who's thriving, because we'll be assessing strength as well as weaknesses. And what we're trying to do is create a profile for each child so that we know what exactly to target. And so currently in this proposal, we only have the assessment piece. But what we have done in older children is a lot of cognitive enhancement training tool development. And that's our next step after that.
And that goes way beyond dyslexia. It's attention, working memory, it's all of the executive function, social emotional learning that are really the predictors for academic outcomes and life success, truly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.